Oh, hello there. My hair is horrible. I get a new camera in a month. What? My setup's gonna change a bunch. Cause I get a new camera in a month. Hello everybody and welcome back to An Old Man Rolling Down Hills. My name is Evan Edinger and today we're gonna be doing an old-fashioned Q&A because I haven't done one of these in Q&A really long time. Would you have preferred to grow up in the British education system? Now you know the differences. Absolutely not. Why would I do that? No, absolutely no. I feel like in every one of the videos that I specifically do about school, I'm always so fascinated in learning about how it's done in the UK, but I'm also startled and like, no, I do not like this system. I don't think it's good at all, especially in regards to like the testing. I think we all know about that since, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but British students have to take A-levels when they turn like 17, 18, which are kind of like the final tests of school before moving on to like university. And the way that it's worked this year because of Corona, they've basically just given everyone random algorithmically based grades based on how they did, except as we've seen on social media, everyone was just given a worse grade than what they were predicted, which makes no sense. If they're gonna just give you BS grades, at least BS it higher. I don't know, at least where I'm from in the US, I know that what I got on a test is because I did that well. Every experience I've had in the UK has been the exact opposite, and I've also heard the exact opposite from other people in terms of you could get 100% of the things right, but the teacher will give you a 75 to be like, well, you still got a first. I just don't like you. You know, you don't really know, and there's no transparency between why you got the certain grade you did. I just don't like that system, okay? At least from my experience, I thought the US system was pretty easy, whereas as I've spoken to a lot of guests on this channel before, it seems like the UK is just so difficult when it comes to school, taking like 40 different exams at the end of the year from the GCSEs and the A-levels, and no thank you. No thank you. I'll take the US system any day. Also, as I did say, I ditched the TV finally. Now I've got an actual like workspace there, which I'm really happy to start working at. It's honestly a dream compared to editing on this giant TV that was really unhealthy and stupid to use, but it was all I had at the time. Hopefully, when I'm done really sorting it out, I'll do a studio tour or something. I've been planning to do that for ages, so tell me if you want to see that in the comments. We'll see. Personally, I'm always really fascinated to watch videos on people's studios because I want to see like what they use to make their situation work and what their like productivity hacks are. So, hey, if you want to see that, maybe you'll say that for me soon. Do you ever get recognized in real life? Is it pleasing, annoying? Funniest story about being recognized. I do get recognized, I feel, every time I go out into the center of the city, just because, you know, you're in London, I make videos about British things, Londoners are like, hey, it's that London guy. Speaking of, actually this week, I was down in Elephant and Castle, hanging out with a friend, getting a little slice of pizza, and I got recognized while I was wearing a mask. Do I just have very iconic eyes? I don't know. This lovely person, if you're watching, hi, did recognize me as that English versus American guy, which is really close, unless it was a slight dig, because it's like, I want more representation for Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Okay. I thought I did a pretty good job, okay. I think the only time getting recognized in public can be annoying is when it's seriously at a really bad time and the person does not consider you in the slightest, such as, let's just say you're going into a restroom and someone goes, hey, can I get a photo? Be like, what, with my Johnson? What do you want from me? Come on, let me have some privacy. This only really happens at conventions though. I don't really get recognized going to the bathroom, most other places. I found that most of the time when I get recognized these days, everyone's really, really chill. No one really asks me for a photo anymore. It's like just that people want to chat with me, which is nice because I like chatting with people. It makes me feel more like a human and less like, you know, a trophy for your Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Is there anything that made you regret living in the UK? Have you ever wished to live in a more rural place in England, or do you enjoy the city? I think this is one of those things that, like I said in the last video, you change as you get older, your needs and wants change. I very much love the city. I love how connected I am to basically everything when I'm in London, but the main regret, the only reason I'd really want to leave is because it's too pricey here. I want to buy a house, okay? That's the one goal. My hope and dream is to one day own an entire house, which just seems like not possible for someone that's not a multimillionaire or like 90 years old who basically dies with a house anyway, you know? And it is really sad because I do feel like I've really gotten accustomed to my area and I really like being part of the community here, and I would hate to uproot myself again, but I'm probably gonna have to just because otherwise I'm renting for the rest of my life and I'll never be able to do anything with a full house and have more than just, you know, one bedroom. How am I supposed to raise a family in this one bedroom? Be like, little Susie, you can sleep in my drawer. What's one thing you wish you knew about the UK before moving here? You need a fan. This is like a necessity of British life because every single year rolls around, British people go, it's not really that hot, it's not hot, air conditioning, you don't need air conditioning. And then this week happens, which if you live in the UK, gosh dang, it's like 35 degrees for like an entire week. It was really, really hot in the 30s the week before that, but people go, oh, now it's hot, but it's not usually this hot. Yeah, it happens every year, and then they just forget about it on purpose. You need a fan, okay? A fan at the bare minimum to survive, because these houses are not made for this heat. It's horrible, and you just lie awake naked in a pool of sweat, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think I've experienced that at least 1 week every year of my life since moving here. Luckily, I did buy a fan eventually, but geez, if you're gonna move here, just buy a fan, or better yet, get that AC somehow. Oh gosh, even now, I'm like, gotta get those Sunday uploads, but I am hot. How do you and your housemates not kill each other? I'm sorry? Between yourself and Noah's videos, seem to be about 8 people living and working from the one house. I'm sorry if this is overly personal, but I've had many smaller house shares that were less amicable. What is the magic? So I've lived in a lot of different houses since coming here. I've lived in a lot of different house shares. My first one was a student accommodation, if you recall, if you've been subscribed to me for that long, which had 10 people in it with one shared kitchen living room. Horrendous, horrible. First of all, our rooms were individual little singles, but the living room, because it was split with 10 people that didn't even know each other, it was just a mess all the time. People just throw piles of rubbish, like freaking apple cores and stuff, without any consideration. It was pretty disgusting. However, we have 6 people here. That's a pretty big number, but we make it work. Everyone really cleans up after themselves for the most part, and if they don't, there's a message in the group chat like, hey, who left this behind? And you're like, oh no, and then you clean it up. It's really not that big of a deal. We've had a lot of different people that have lived here over the years, like people constantly switching in and out, but at this point, we got a pretty solid group, and everyone mostly makes content online, or at least works in media, so we all get along, understand what we're up to, and we all care about each other. I think that's the biggest one. Find people you care about. Also have house meetings. House meetings are really important, where like once or twice a month, you just hang out as a house just to talk about like, oh, our landlord, I really hate how he doesn't do anything. And you have to be like, yeah, we should email him to do something. Just because if you're all just kept up in your own little rooms, especially during lockdown for such a long period of time, you know, tensions can get pretty high. So communicating a lot. That's basically how we get by. When was your moment of, I'm a Brit now? Advice to someone who wants to move to the UK from Tennessee. Disgusting at age 18. First of all, Tennessee is not disgusting. Nashville is one of the most beautiful places I've been in terms of American cities that felt like a great place to raise a family. The houses, you get lots of land, you got a nice little house, you got a little city, but it feels rural. Ooh, that's Nashville. I don't know about the rest of Tennessee. But when did I feel like I'm a Brit? I guess I never really had that moment until I got my indefinite leave to remain. Then I was like, sweet. I've always considered myself a Londoner, but in terms of Brit, well, we got the citizenship down the line, so I guess that's probably when I'll really feel like that. In terms of advice for moving out of the US, it is incredibly difficult, and that is a feature, not a bug. They do not want you to move. It is so incredibly difficult. I found the only way that really worked for me is the one that I did, which was studying abroad. I felt like that was the only possible way to leave for an extended period of time legally, in terms of getting a visa that's more than just, 6 months at a time, and then getting a job and transitioning. So I can only really recommend what has worked for me. So study abroad. You're at the Edinger to get age to do that, so studying abroad and then somehow sneak your way in and stay. Otherwise, good luck. It is difficult. I guess getting a job in an international company in the US and just begging and pleading to somehow switch countries, but you've got to climb your way up the ladder, and by the time it's there, maybe it's too late. Maybe you've already grown roots in the area you are, but that's not so much a bad thing. The grass is always greener, as they say. What video games do you play, if any at all? I played video games my entire life. Like, I've always been such a huge video game person. I'm actually playing Paper Mario the Origami King on my Twitch right now, so if you want to join the community, you haven't been there before, hey, it's a fun time. We have little chats. I play like 5 times a week, roughly. Now, in regards to why I don't really talk about video games much on this channel, I find that every time that I do, algorithmically, it seems like the large proportion of people that watch my channel aren't really interested in video game content. So I'm like, all right, I like video games. Y'all don't like video games that much. Fine. So that's why I mostly keep it to Twitch when I'm playing things. For instance, I was just playing The Last of Us Part 2. Oh my god! Put 40 hours into it. It was beautiful. Beautiful. I've always been a bigger fan of story-driven video games and artistic-driven video games because it makes me feel like I'm experiencing something finite and beautiful, like a piece of art, as opposed to games that do not end, like if I was playing a massively online game. They're fun, but I like more like short burst things these days. How is German going? Will you make videos about learning languages and your experiences in the future? So my German's going pretty well. I'm still taking that B2 course, albeit slowly at the moment, and I'm learning German through just reading Harry Potter, as I said before, and watching them on season 2 of a series on Netflix called How to Sell Drugs Online Fast. It's pretty funny. There's only 2 more episodes I have left, but that's basically how I'm learning the language at this point. In regards to will I make videos about language learning in the future, it depends if I have something else to add. I mean, at this point, what would I really say except still learning German? You know, it's not necessarily adding anything to the conversation, whereas everyone in the past, I've had a very distinct thing to talk about. I do have German-related content coming from the future that I'm very excited about, that I'm working on, but in terms of like videos about learning it, what else can I say? Ich lerne Deutsch täglich. Ehrlich gesagt, das ist alles, das ich sagen muss. Have you picked up any new hobbies over lockdown? What have you been doing with your spare time? Well, as I'm sure you've noticed, I've picked up learning. I've been doing a lot of learning in regards to photography, photo editing, and also video lighting and video editing. So obviously I've been figuring out how to grade videos better by editing a lot more videos and creating more things, and therefore now I kind of have a feel for how to do this thing. That's what I've been doing a lot of time on. However, I'm also still meditating since I did that meditation video right before lockdown. I'm on day like 170 at this point, and it's obviously not a hobby. It's not like I'm like, oh, my hobbies include meditating. You know, I do it for like 20 minutes a day, but it's very lovely. I very much enjoy it. I'd say the biggest thing that has been taking up my time during lockdown has been photography and editing for photos. I'm really spending a lot of time and effort into it, and I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully, like I said, you guys seem to be interested in me making a video about that in the future, so I'm working on it. If you were to learn another language, would you take up another Germanic language or something completely different like another Latin or Asian language? Here's the thing. I'm taking this one step at a time. Everyone's like, what's the 20th language you're gonna learn? Let me have this one thing, right? I'm getting pretty darn good at German. I'm still learning Spanish at my own pace. Let me get those two done and enjoy the language learning process that I currently have before dreaming of, 80 different languages and what I'm gonna do then. I'd rather focus on what I'm doing now rather than just constantly looking for a bigger and better and more languages. I feel like it's kind of like after you make your first YouTube video, it's like, what are you gonna do when you've got 1 million subs? What's your favorite and least favorite things about the US and England? I actually made a video about that already, and you know what? You guys hated it because I was like, here's some things I dislike about the UK. This was supposed to be a little lighthearted comedy video, and you guys were like, what? You talk about things you don't like. If you don't like it, why don't you move out of here? That was the title of the video. It was supposed to be how you get your panties out of a twist, all right? Your knickers, whatever you want to say in this country. Come on, calm down. Favorite things about the US, the food. Least favorite things about the US, the corruption. Favorite things about the UK, the free health care. Least favorite thing about the UK, the food. What's your favorite music to listen to right now? Also, do you listen to Hamilton? I do not listen to Hamilton. I listened to it once. I thought it was all right. Wasn't really the biggest fan. Sorry, but what am I listening to at the moment? I'm still listening to Porter Robinson, Madian. They're pretty darn good. Tycho, a lot of beep boop boppy music for me, actually. I really like electronic style music. Literally anything that Kevin Parker makes. Love a bit of Tame Impala. And honestly, Sufjan Stevens, just throw a lot of bands in there. Little Jack's Mannequin, Everything in Transit. Ooh. Have you ever regretted getting a sponsorship by a company? If so, maybe spill the tea. Sponsorships are not as easy as they seem. Some of them really are. Depends on if you're managed well, even if you're doing it yourself. There's so much strife behind the scenes for at least a lot of the stuff that I used to do way back in the day. Whereas nowadays, I find it very simple. I can just integrate things well, and it's usually brands that I ask to work with because I like them. I remember, if I'm gonna tell you one story, I suppose, you'll probably know exactly what video I'm talking about if you've watched me for long enough. But there was this one brand I worked with where I got to make a really fun video I wouldn't have made otherwise with them. I was really excited. I sent them the video, and then they were upset that there was another brand visible in the video that was not in any way a competitor and was owned by the same parent company. So it was like, okay, I'm really sorry, but also, are there any other brands for this product in the slightest? There really aren't. There's no generic version of this. And so they demanded that I blur it out. I then insisted that doing this will cause a Streisand effect, and they didn't care. And sure enough, the majority of comments on the video are about what I had to blur out, which was silly. They should have just trusted me. I think the amount of times that things go wrong with brand deals is because brands think they know my content better than I do, which is stupid because they really don't. I got really American there. I really haven't had any sort of problem like this anytime recently, and I think it's because I'm a lot more choosy about who I work with. It's basically just brands I like. Easy way around it. You're never really gonna have a problem unless it's a brand you like, or maybe the brand you like you don't like anymore because they're bad to work with. Luckily, haven't had that much of an issue. From start to finish, how long does it take to make your average video? I've always been curious about this. Average video, it really wildly depends. A video like this, I'm gonna say maybe 10 to 12 hours to make this video at most. Whereas a video like if you saw my US taxation video, God, that took 55 hours from start to finish, from the research and the writing to setting up the shot, making sure that I had all the people involved for the different sketches and the lighting and the sound. And I was doing 8 people's jobs in one. Storyboarding the sketch bits to make sure that they made sense in terms of different camera angles, and gosh. However, I loved that, but 55 hours in a week is a bit much, so I really got burnt out after that. So, What's the average time? Honestly, it really depends on the type of content I'm making. I'm trying to make more of this heavily researched content in the future, but that stuff takes a lot of work, and so that's why I kind of have to balance out that style with a bit of this style, where the content comes a bit easier. The majority of time that's spent making a video like this, for instance, is funny enough, is actually just setting up my room to have all the lights and everything the way I like it, and then the edit, which takes a bit longer than it used to because the way that I grade things, but I hope you guys appreciate it, because I freaking, oh man, the way that my eyes look in certain, it just looks so good when you light things well. So in my opinion, I'm not gonna go back. I don't think I could go back to editing videos in under 2 hours, because I could, but they'd be really choppy and sloppy, and no way. No way. What American food do you miss the most that you can't get in London? I only found out recently that most of the food that I loved so much that I took for granted when I lived in New Jersey was Sicilian, right? Sicilian Italian, because there's so many Sicilian Italian immigrants that moved into New Jersey, and that's why, you can just go to any store and get a cannoli, or cannolo, if you want to pronounce it that way, because it's a singular, sure. But you get cannoli, you get a little Sicilian pizza, a little party pizza, I just miss that type of food, honestly. I could go to Sicily. And lastly, we have you ever wanted to go to North Korea? Well, Kim Jong-un, thank you for the offer, but I'm okay right now. No. Anyway, that about does it for this episode of Ask Evan. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for asking me such good questions. I feel like I haven't done it in so long that you guys were like, I don't know, good questions, good answers. We're all here having a good time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next Sunday for another video. Goodbye.